Adam, the sports media landscape is changing a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like, and especially from those in our space, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of pessimism in a lot of ways because as we're recording this today,
Yep.
the New York Times just
Yeah.
announced that it's disbanding its sports department. We know what has happened at your company just in terms of the layoffs of well-known on-air talent. For the future, Adam, for kind of future journalists, the
Yep.
young kids who are maybe in high school or just thinking about the industry and who are maybe kind of discouraged about all this, about
Yeah.
what it's all going to look like, what would you tell those folks about getting in and maybe what it takes to find success in this kind of changing landscape that we're seeing now?
Ben, I would just say this again. The world that people are entering today in 2023 is a lot different than the one that I entered into the workforce in 1990.
Yeah.
But I still believe, and maybe you, as somebody who is almost 30 years my junior, can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Good work still stands out. A well reported story still stands out. Whether that's a feature, whether that's a news story, whether that's a different kind of story, whatever it may be, good work done often enough gets noticed. So if you're covering the Tennessee Titans and you're writing great features or you're breaking some news, somebody's going to notice.
Mhm.
It has to be in this world. Like, there's no way it wouldn't be. So the traditional path that I would have followed, like I interviewed with the New York Times to become the New York Giants beat writer. And at one point, I actually thought I'm going to leave Denver and become the beat writer for the New York Times for the New York Giants. Like I debated doing that. And I don't even remember if the New York Times ever actually offered me the job. I think they did offer me the job.
Mm.
Um, but it was like at the same salary. And I was very happy in Denver. And the Broncos, like I said, gave me this tremendous education in an indirect way. And I'm like, well, what am I going to leave this for? To go live in New York where it's costlier, where it's not going to be as personal.
Mhm.
You know what? I'm very happy in there. I'm going to stay here. And so I didn't go. So maybe whereas people my age wanted to start out at a smaller paper and build up, you'd start at a small paper and build up to a place like the Rocky Mountain News and then to the New York Times, whatever it may be. Those traditional paths, it seems, aren't there anymore. So now you can make your own content. You could be on YouTube, you could be on TikTok, you could be on Instagram, you could be on Twitter. But again, I still say if you are the one who's writing this untold story of some wide receiver that overcame some unbelievable adversity and has an incredible story, people are going to care. If you're the one that reports on this feud that's going on between a coach and a player, or a fight that erupted in the locker room, or some drug suspension that no one knew about, if you report on these things, people will notice you're like, oh, Ben Arthur wrote that story about that. Wow, that was a hell of a story. Oh, Ben Arthur broke that. Oh, we got to get to know this Ben Arthur a little bit
Mhm.
more. And so, how you get from point A to point Z, I think, is a lot different than how I would have done it back in 1990, pre social media, pre the news cycle being as quick as it is. But the idea then was to do good work. And I still think, as old fashioned as it may sound, the idea now is to do good work. It's just how it's distributed and how it's consumed are entirely different.
Mhm.